aviation, which is a lot about flying, but I'm afraid of height. So, so for the presentation today, I basically will just speak to you about two things that I find very interesting. The first thing is about the industry at a glance. And the second thing is about the reason why many people actually choose flying instead of other kind of transportation. And I do need your active participations in this because I'm gonna give our giveaway actually right now for the first session about aviation industry at a glance. Well, when we actually talk about aviation industry, it is actually a whole world on its own. And the reason why I am saying that is because there are so many different business sectors within aviation. So the first question to the audience, which is actually whoever will answer like the most correct, like with the most details, will get the giveaway from me, which is a mobile luggage scale that's coming from Swiss International Airlines. This is one of the airlines belong to Lufthansa Group. So what are the business sector that actually come to your mind instantly when you think of aviation industry? Some pictures here are already a hint of what they are, but more than that actually. So please let me know. You can type in the chat actually for the answer. So just please type it in. Cargo, all right, first person.
You do mention that as many as possible, right?
Yeah. Ground services.
So I would
cargo, clean, CO2, flying security. All right. Who else would like to answer on this? I'm just trying to see now on the answer. Services. Airline duty free, F&B, ground services, cabin crew. Okay, I will set another 10 more minutes. No, 10 more seconds, sorry. We don't have 10 more minutes because I need to speak 10 more. All right, the time is approaching to an end. Sector, cargo, ground handling service. All right, let's close this now. And the person who will actually get the present from me will be Hannah Pham. So you mentioned correctly, some sector in aviation, which is airline. Yes, duty free, Philip will talk about it, F&B and crowd services. So let me just go into a more structural way of how it looks like in aviation industry, right? So when you think about aviation, I think the first picture that coming to people's mind is basically the pictures of the cabin crew, and it means flight attendants and pilots. And also an additional pictures that some of you have already mentioned, which is cargo, because it is actually a part of one of the most popular sector in aviation industry, which is passengers and freight transportation. But because this is the whole world, so therefore there are much more than that. So as you can see from here, I'm going from the left to the right, because we are working on the industry that actually using the sky as the mode, the medium mode of transportation. So therefore we need aircraft. And we do have a sector called aircraft manufacturing, which, I mean, you immediately think of guys like Boeing or Airbus as the major player in this field. Then because aircraft is actually a machine and machine do need maintenance. So therefore there is a sector called maintenance, repair, overhaul, or in short, we call it MRO within our industry. And it must be there because aviation is fully regulated industry. If you do not have MRO, you cannot just fly. Then another thing, which is training. And the reason why training is so crucial, because the industry is highly regulated. We all need a lot of license to basically perform our operations. And the employee themselves will also need to be trained properly and with the correct license. So therefore training play a crucial role in our industry. And I go now to the right-hand side, which I write here, catering. So catering, why is it so important? Because I myself, for the last 13 years, have been working here in the industry. I have never seen an aircraft taking off without any food and drink. So I would say that will disappear if you have like really aircraft that does not have people at all on it. But then, yeah, that is not something that is happening at the moment. So even a new aircraft that somebody has to fly to Seattle to pick up from Boeing base, going back to the country of the airline, with just a pilot, also still need to have food and drink on it. So catering. Catering also included on as well, like other stuff, for example, like the other services on the aircraft, for example, your blanket, for example, the stuff that you see in the toilet of the airplane. So those actually belong inside the catering unit. Then the next one here we have is IT and system. And this is, of course, I mean, quite understandable. Is because an airline or an aviation group is still a company. And as a company, we do need system and I mean, our IT infrastructure. It can be something that is very unique to just aviation industry, but also can be something that is very common like other companies using, for example, Microsoft Teams or Microsoft Word and Excel. Last but not least, consulting. Why am I saying that? Because this is very known for big airlines. So for example, my company, Lufthansa Group, is a consultant of a lot of government, of a lot of airport projects, and a lot of other airlines. Because simply we have experience of working in this industry for a long time, and we are successful with revenue, with profit, and therefore we normally get consulting project coming in as, you know, an additional business for our group. So as you see, there are much more things in aviation industry than just, you know, passengers and freight transportation. So that is the first part of today. And the second part is that I'm just explaining why a lot of people choose to fly instead of other transportation. I mean, there are many reasons that why you want to fly. You fly because you want to travel. You can fly because you have to go for a business trip, or simply you're going for a one-way ticket to a new place to start a new life, right? But the basic reason why people choose to fly is simply because it is convenient and this is very safe. And well, numbers said that in 2019, there were 4.5 billion passengers that have chose to fly. And if you actually look into 4.5 billion, okay, so what does it make sense to me? But if you compare actually with the populations of the Earth on that year, it is like 58% of the whole population, if you put this number into comparison. So that is a lot of people actually flying 2019 right before the crisis. And as I said, the first reason is simply flying saves you time, and you have a lot of choices to go from one place to another place. And for me, flying really makes sense if you need to travel on a longer distance. The second thing is that flying is the safest mode of transportation. And why am I saying that? It is because this is a very highly regulated industry. So we follow regulations and policy not only locally, but also internationally as we operate everywhere in the world. And I put the word religiously is really, you have to follow that, otherwise you couldn't really operate, right? So I can give one example here just to compare why aircraft is safe. So let's think of the three kind of vehicle here. The first one is the bicycle, the second one is a car, and the third one is the aircraft. So if you imagine a bicycle, right? Do you need a license to ride a bicycle? Actually, no. I know in Europe, sometime in school, they ask the kid to be really attending class, top learning by the police how to ride a bicycle, but most places do not have it. And second thing is that nobody actually require you to service your bicycle after 6 months or 12 months. It's up to you. So first thing, bicycle. This is how it looks like. If a car, then yeah, you need a license, and it does take time to study to get a car license. Then the car also required by law to follow certain things when you're actually riding on the road, or you simply need to also do servicing, right? So there is a kind of like scheduled servicing that will happen to your car. So car is simply already a more upgraded vehicle comparing to bicycle. And the last one I'm talking about is an aircraft. And an aircraft can actually run on the land. So when we're taxiing and also flying at the same time. So it's like the most complex vehicle of transportation if you think of nowadays. And for an aircraft, even if it's a super new aircraft, yeah, it does not mean that it can fly, because simply it have to go through a process of checking and of maintenance before it can even start flying. And for aircraft, of course, we have this kind of like structural maintenance, like every 6 months, every 1 year, every so many years. But actually, after every single flight, there have to be a qualified engineer checking, and even the pilot is checking over everything for the flight to be signed off and go on the next flight. And being a pilot is not an easy task either. So the timing to study for a pilot normally 1 year, and you have to have kind of a special ability. Just really how the structure of your brain, how you work actually will decide on that to become a pilot. So that also explains why flying, if you're comparing to the rest I'm talking about, is actually very safe. Then the next thing I would like to say, why it's safe is simply because it's continuous learning is for real in this industry. I can get, again, the example of a pilot. When he graduated, it does not mean that he can fly own type aircraft. Basically, they learn one type of aircraft and they stick to it. And if they need to fly another type of aircraft, you need to study for another license. And simply does not mean when you have the license, you can just feel free and just ride the aircraft forever. But no, I mean, you have to go back to simulation. You have to go back to refresher course and so on to keep on updating your skill in order to really make flying very safe for everyone. And last but not least, flying is very safe for the environment itself, because I will explain later on, I think further, because I see already one in some of the questions actually we receive is about sustainability. Flying is getting cleaner to the environment, despite whatever people might say that, you know, CO2 coming to the environment and what not. So, I mean, flying is progressing now, especially with a lot of airlines are now committed to initiative to make flying CO2 neutral. And the target now is actually 2050. And this is really a future that we are seeing that is actually coming true. And then, you know, with all of this putting together, I don't find the reason why people are not flying if they need to travel to somewhere that is far away. Then the question that I got a lot from my client is basically COVID-19 time and is flying still safe? And I understand the concern, but basically to my point of view, and also with those technical data that I'm gonna provide you, is that flying is very safe because the cabin air is cleaner than actually most air that you can inhale on Earth. And here's the reason why. I'm just gonna show quickly this, and I will explain right away why it is like that. So the first thing I would talk about is about the air quality, right? So what exactly make up the air quality inside an aircraft? So the air that you inhale inside an aircraft is actually made from two components. The first component is the fresh air coming from outside, and the second component is the air that is actually reused inside the aircraft. So fresh air, basically when the aircraft is flying, it is super safe and clean. It's because normally at the height of 10 kilometers above the sea level, the temperature is like -40 to -60 degrees, and simply the air there is like free from any bacteria, any virus, and any dust whatsoever. So the fresh air actually came inside the aircraft via the wings area, and it has to be going to the air conditioning pack because it's too cold. So that's why it needs to be actually like made to the temperature that you can actually bear it as a passenger inside the aircraft. And the second component, which is the concern component, is because there are air that need to be reused together with the new air to be combined, right? So for the air actually need to be reused, the aircraft is actually equipped with something called the HEPA filter. And the HEPA actually stands for high efficiency particulate air filter system. And with this air filter system, it's basically remove 99.9% of impurity. So impurity here is like dust, bacteria, virus, whatsoever from the cabin air, and with a very high frequency. So for 1 hour, it would be like 20 times those air that is reused have been filtered by HEPA system. So meaning averagely every 2 or 3 minutes, the whole air inside the cabin has been filtered completely. So two kinds of air put together will become the air that is going back inside the aircraft cabin that you're actually breathing in. And then I have to explain also another thing is that the air inside your cabin does not go from the end of the aircraft to the nose of the aircraft, but it's go like from top to down. So meaning wherever you are sitting, the air column belongs to you. So I do find that if the air actually going from the tail of the aircraft to the nose of the aircraft, then if somebody sneeze, you might get the COVID-19 virus. But since it's actually going like this, like on downward like this, I think it's very safe basically. Yeah, and then with the seat even in front of you, and you have to wear a mask nowadays while you're flying, I think the chance of getting infected by COVID-19 while you're flying is super, super, super minimal. Of course, I couldn't say it's impossible, but really scientifically wise, it's just really, 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 you know, very clean air, and you wouldn't even have any problem with that. So this is the reply that I normally give to people, that flying is safe even during COVID-19. So yeah, that's all for my part actually. Thank you for your attention. And if there would be any question, please feel free to let me know.
Thank you, Anli, for the presentation. I think with this, we would be even more confident right now when we take the flight to Hanoi, or maybe even overseas when the border is going to be open, right? So I think for all the questions that we have, maybe we can leave that to the panel discussion so that we can answer each and everybody's questions. Is that okay?
So even your question as well, right? Because
yeah, my question as well. I would just say, sometimes I'm confused, and people asking what's the difference between hospitality and then aviation and then airlines, and all I wanted to say, maybe they share about 7% similarities in terms of customer service and the attitude and mindset, and the rest would be on a lot on technical aspects that maybe you can give me a better explanation a bit later. All right.
Yeah.
I think we can start now with the next presentation with Philip. Hi everyone, I actually very honored to have Philip here with me today, because I was thinking of who to invite the next besides Anli, what we have, because in the beginning Anli and I was thinking how should we give a topic to this event, and then we thought maybe I'm gonna call this Up in the Air, and then I thought, yeah, no, what about the grounds? Because there's so much to do as well, not just up in the air, because I can be missing something. So I just call it the world of aviation. So right now, Philip, after you, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Anli, for that one. I think that I learned a lot actually just listening from that presentation. And that's why it's so exciting to be part of this type of forums and discussions, no matter how many people there are, and I keep on seeing so many people joining now. I see that there are students with us and also professionals in the hospitality industry, and hello to everyone wherever you are, and I hope everyone is safe during this time. Thank you for this invitation to share. I think people may have seen me in terms of news, in terms of different sectors, retail sector, and different types of society news. And for me, my passion has always been in aviation and tourism. You know, I put that together because typically when you fly, you go to a new destination, and no matter where you are, you make something out of it, right? Whatever makes you interested. So let me share my slides. So I think the question is, what happens now with COVID, and how do we approach looking for a job, sustaining your job, or proposing what you're supposed to do in your job currently if the restrictions of COVID is limiting your industry? I trust that Vietnam is very strong in terms of, number one, community. We are very strong in terms of working together to really challenge something or be part of something. And that's why I miss celebrating all of these football matches, riding the motorbike, and raising the Vietnam flag. You know, that's such a unique culture about Vietnam, and I think that's why so much people fall in love with the economy here. And I think that's where we should believe in, is that we as individuals contribute to the overall success of Vietnam. And I think as we share the beauty of what we believe is Vietnam, and I believe that's what Camelia has been doing, also doing this hospitality and connecting the Australian network to really come back, I believe, to Vietnam, or continue that learning that you've learned in Australia, where I believe is one of the best in terms of logical hospitality. I believe logical hospitality is very Australian. So to me, when I look at the Vietnam outlook, it will take time, but I could see the news day by day. It's progressing quite rapidly. So again, I do believe there's going to be a very optimistic 2022. I look at scenarios on opportunity for. We must know that the RCEP already was enacted just today, which is quite exciting. I believe bilateral regulations in terms of Vietnam and Australia is very important on the growth of tourism, because more FDI from Australia, more tourism from Australia back to Vietnam, or vice versa, creates that network. And it's not just Australia. I guess it's a global thing right now. A lot of the foreign investment to Vietnam happened between the 2017, 18, 19, and a lot of those are maturing right now in terms of operations, getting to operation staging. And that's why I think Vietnam is in a shortage of middle management and upper management, and they're looking now for Vietnamese who studied overseas and looking to come back to Vietnam. And that's a lot of opportunity. We all know the challenges for the fourth wave of COVID, and it's not disheartening, but it's also worrying to see that we've reached 7,000 again of COVID just yesterday, 7,600, I do believe. And that's not in Ho Chi Minh or in Hanoi. Hanoi, there are outbreaks, but it's still below 100. I think for us, we are seeing at the unvaccinated centers of Vietnam, where a lot of the Vietnamese went back out after the lockdown. Forecasting on how we look at in terms of export and import, it's sustaining. So we see our GDP growth, and I believe that means salary ranges will still constantly be increasing here in Vietnam. And I do believe that's an opportunity for a lot of the Vietnamese to be able to establish back, not in Ho Chi Minh, but I do believe a lot of the growth sectors are in Phu Quoc, Da Nang, Cam Ranh, Vong Dong, and a lot of the heavy industries are setting up FDI directly to those second and third tier cities. So I do believe a lot of the opportunities are outside Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi currently. Just an update for aviation. So we see Vietnam has a lot of airports. That's what makes travel in Vietnam so beautiful. We get to go to so much different locations. You know, if we go to the north right now, you could do a K-drama photo shoot, you know, with all of this flowers falling and getting colder, and wear your boots and your coat. And it's not just there. You go to Sapa, you go to all of this northern province, and if you want really nice weather and really open setting, Da Nang and Nha Trang, and if you really want big resorts, and you have Phu Quoc. And that's not just currently. And I do to the mention of An Lee, yes, travel is safe now with aviation. I do believe the centralized licensing of pilots and the industry of IATA and ACI and all of this centralized licensing, it's very centralized, and that's why it feels safe. But I do believe, I say this in my own personal opinion, in order for us to restart the international tourism, we must restart the domestic tourism. We must travel local. We must support the local 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star concepts, the mom and pop shops, all of this locals. And I was just reading an article. If we're able to pay full price for brands that we see online, we should be able to support full price also for the locals. And I think for me, I want to be able to concentrate my efforts for tourism in 2 sectors. Is number 1, supporting the domestic restart, so that when we offer to international tourists, the offering that we have is already international standard once again, because the Vietnamese is international standard. We've traveled all over the world, and so that makes it exciting. So again, 22 airports by the end of the year, and I do believe that's gonna make it exciting for Australians to choose where to come now, and not just Australians, again, Asia Pacific. Just again, the data that we have is from 2019 and early 2020 and restart of 2021, and it's not a secret. Vietnam is an exciting destination and created 40,000 jobs. again, we have to review this data again once we do the census for the tourism cities that have lost a lot of jobs also currently. And we have to be real. It's a restart, and restarting something is not cheap. You have to redo your inventory. You have to rehire staff. You have to clean the rooms. You have to redo all of the offerings, and it will take a monumental restart to be able to get back to normal. But Vietnam is ready for that. Just to share, market share of airlines in Vietnam. As we know, Vietnam Airlines is the #1 sector that was growing, 5.4 million in the first 4 months of 2021, 15 million for 2020. So again, aviation sector, that's why a lot of people want to be pilots, a lot of people want to be flight attendants, because before COVID, it was a very, very secure industry. And it is still a secure industry because there is still airplanes available on the tarmac, parked somewhere. They will restart. It will restart. And for those, again, that are looking for opportunities in the future, aviation and hospitality, it's interconnected. And we believe that Vietnam will need a lot of expertise moving forward with the heavy investment that has been done in the aviation sector. Our forecast in terms of how we see the situation in Vietnam, from arrivals to Vietnam are now almost exclusively foreign officials. You know, I flew to New York last September. Very hard. It was not easy. I thank you for that, Anli, for in terms of the air. I was actually really wondering, is it safe to eat inside the airplane? And I think now with the international protocols for COVID tests and the vaccine requirements, I do believe people who are in the airplane are quite safe now. Those people I believe, are the most responsible in terms of COVID protocols. And so we must trust the restart. I do believe if you are given the opportunity to travel if you have the opportunity. I think that is, not everyone will have the opportunity. It's hard. And so once you get the opportunity to travel domestically in Vietnam, take it and enjoy it. If you are going to go to quarantine, I went through quarantine in A&M hotel for 8 days. I had to choose something to make my quarantine enjoyable in terms of why I chose this. And I became a food blogger. I never thought I would take a photo of my food so often, but it was something that I wanted to share because, you know, food is so important to, if you're going to invite Koreans or Chinese or Russians or Japanese to come back to Da Nang or Cam Ranh or Phu Quoc or Vang Dam or Ho Chi Minh, we must cater to their appetite. If we give them 7 days of Vietnamese food, of all of this wonderful Vietnamese food, they might get scared. But if we mix it up, you know, I think that's where working with operations team and marketing team for hotel is where I'm excited for. And I think as we go to the question and answer later, there's some questions about Routes Asia, which I will talk about. So again, I will share this. I think Camelia will share our slides to the public in terms of shared documents. So I'll share this with everyone. Again, this is a forecast. Forecast is forecast. I've learned something about forecast after COVID. It's a forecast. I have done 20 forecasts in the past 22 years. I almost said 20 years. And it's okay. I'm not disheartened. I'm excited. I'm excited because there's clarity now in terms of vaccination. And again, it's exciting to hear the Vietnam government integrating. And I think Vietnam Airlines, Vietjet, Bamboo Airlines, they've all chosen IATA Pass. IATA Travel Pass is the main now in order to travel. But you know, when I traveled to New York, I did not require it because I flew Korean Airlines. And it was I did not actually need to download any application actually. I was transiting. So again, it's really implementation within countries of what it means to get into the country. So do your research. If you are planning to travel, it's not digital anymore. You will need to print everything. I say, yes, we will get back to the Agoda, TripAdvisor, Booking.com, quick application. let's go to Singapore, Bangkok for the weekend, for holiday, etc., etc. Yes, we will get back there, but the idea, the understanding of quarantine, of vaccine travel with no quarantine, we're trying to get Vietnam to 2 nights maximum or 1 night maximum. That's our goal. You get into your hotel room, you get tested for PCR under the hotel. A lot of the executions will be under the hotel requirements, you know. But again, who is paying for all of this cost? And the cost will go back to the customer. So again, I do believe easy economic travel of, do I want this booking? Do I need this meal? Do I need this luggage? Do I need insurance? Do I need all of these add-on services? I hate to say, we may have to go back to traditional booking. And I think the emergence of travel agents will come back again for full service booking. Travel agents to book A to Z, etc., etc. I think that will come back. I believe so, because it's not easy to book, really. And I hope booking will become centralized again under airport and airline. But I do believe travel agencies. So let's do our research. I think that's where we have to do a lot of more forum, Camelia. I think we have to now do this in terms of verticals of industries, from Lufthansa to say, okay, Philip, from the Germans traveling to Vietnam, how do we do one specific workshop? So we target Germans and Vietnamese. Okay, have Vietnamese students decided to study in Germany? Not really, but I saw an Instagrammer who is funny, very funny. She does a lot of jokes for living in Germany culture, and I learned a lot of it. I just saw it a few times. So I think for those who are here today who are in industry, call out to Camelia. If you say, hey, I'm a marketing manager or operations manager of a hotel from this resort, I say this, it has to be unified. You cannot execute a marketing execution as a hotelier. It's impossible. I think we have to go to DMO now. We have to unite with destination. DMO is destination marketing organization. Australia is very strong with DMO. And I do believe Vietnam is still learning about DMO. And I love Da Nang about that with Fantasticity. The whole Fantasticity and the DMO you spend. And you know who's the number one DMO is Korea, with all of the K-pop. Everyone knows the BTS and all of this, Twice and Red Velvet. And they've gone to UN and they danced and sang inside the UN. How exciting is that, right? That's tourism. They're now in UN. I know everyone who is a business owner is saying, man, I've taken a loan. I've had to let go of my staff. I'm an employee. I'm on a staff. I got let go already twice from my employer. Is there hope? It's a case by case. I cannot say that, oh yes, there can, but trust me to say that we are doing our best to restart the airport. The best way I personally could help the economy is to get more flights into Vietnam. It's not easy to say, hey, Taiwan, hey, Brisbane, hey, Sydney, hey, Melbourne, hey, Seoul, hey, Shanghai, hey, Singapore, hey, Kuala Lumpur, hey, Bali, hey, Cebu. Oh man, name all of the cities that used to come to Vietnam. So I think for us, it's again, we have to restart the domestic industry. We have to give confidence back to the domestic industry. And for me, again, it will take not just the airport, it will take everyone's operations team. And I say this, we don't need to spend cash. We just need to use the existing assets of hotels. In terms of your marketing team, your Facebook, let's unify. Let's use the same graphic. Let's use the same messaging. And I think that's what we need to do in terms of per locality. So again, there's conditions, short-term, long-term, and I do hope that by June 2022, we see a normalized data by June 2022. Now, the exciting part, not this, sorry. This is exciting. This is me. I'm Philip. I work under IPP Group. We've been here for almost 37 years already. We are, the first flight we chartered was under my chairman, my father, 1985. The first cargo were from America, Red Cross items from the Vietnamese overseas that were able to live in America for maybe 5 years already. We were able to transit that Red Cross items to Philippines, and Philippines, we ship it to Vietnam. That was 1985. And we learned about the cargo, import duties, landing permit, and that was our history. And from that 1985, we grew. We grew now to understand, okay, after 1985, now we have 2020. What is the next reopening of Vietnam? What do we have to do? Me as second generation, I respect everything that this is as a company, but COVID has changed everything. If we do not pivot, if we do not change our philosophy, history will get changed because of COVID. So we have to reestablish, and I'm grateful to be part of this. This is our history from 1985 to 2020, from company establishment for the first landing via Philippines. 1995, establishing the first duty-free store in Tanzania and Noybay. IPP Travel, 1995. So I'm very honored to be the CEO of IPP Travel. Just last year, I took over the company 2020 April. As people who are in Vietnam, I hope you have enjoyed the Popeye's Chicken or Domino's Pizza, or have enjoyed some of our brands from Nike and running with it, or have enjoyed certain things. And we do believe that there is more to brands. It's job opportunities. And I do believe the more stores we open, each store needs about 10 to 25 staff. You open 100 stores, that's 200 to 250, 2,000 to 2,500 jobs that you need. So for us, growth is together. It's economy, but education right now in Vietnam is still very young. That's why I hope together with Australia, I could bring in the TAFE model to Vietnam, because I'm a big fan of TAFE. A lot of people who have gotten a degree, they might have lost their job. They have to retrain. We have to retrain. But we don't want to do 4 years education. Sometimes you just have to watch a YouTube video to learn a skill set, right? Oh, I want to learn how to cook a pasta. Oh my God, something broke in my house. How do I fix it? You know what? YouTube. We are all YouTube's university students, and we have to adapt. And so I'm grateful for our history. We have been part of many accolades, and I'm grateful for the continuing strength of our group. This is my industry, airports. This is our brands within market. We manage luxury and mid-tier fashion brands. We hope to open premium outlet in Phu Quoc to enjoy for free trade shopping. That means Vietnamese and local residents could shop tax-free and duty-free in Phu Quoc. So that's going to be quite exciting. Our stores, we're changing the concept now in airports. So please travel domestically and travel internationally soon as we renovate our stores. Oops, someone's coming in. Sorry. This is duty free. I have been the CEO for duty free. When I took over the portfolio 2017, our portfolio was $150 million. After 2 years of managing it, I was able to grow the portfolio to 233 million. So there is results to this madness I have in my mind. I love energy. I love things, and that's what tourism is. If tourism is boring, if hospitality is, hello, welcome to Da Nang. Welcome to Da Nang. It's a different type of world of energy, and sometimes we have to be that energy to restart. So I'm grateful to be leading the duty-free sector. We also manage and distribute liquor in Vietnam. So again, nightlife and travel retail, sometimes you need that bottle of wine or a beer or some champagne. We also manage technology. So I do believe technology is a big driver for AI. And we start through the phone, through Apple. Okay, before I close out my sector, sorry, I might have extended. Now I share data from KPMG in terms of how do we recover? What is COVID? What is COVID in Vietnam and what is COVID in the world? So as we know, the high income countries have gotten the most, and that's part of life. That is governance. That is how the world has managed the history in terms of growth. And I do believe understanding that history gives us an understanding of vaccination. For Vietnam, we have been vaccinated for Pfizer, Sinopharm, Moderna, Oxford, AstraZeneca, and Sputnik. And we look at the supply chain and how far are we in terms of herd immunity. Herd immunity, do we believe it? You know what? Yes, it's working. I do believe the government is using science for Vietnam to reopen the industry, and thank God. I think and thankfully everything is starting to reopen, and I hope everyone still continues with the 5K. We look at G20. Okay, we look at G20 in terms of world first, in terms of herd immunity, and we believe beginning of May, we will see the herd immunity based on vaccination rollout. For G20, much sooner. For G20, we see at December. And that's exciting because when we look at the inbound for Vietnam, we say, okay, by end of 2020, herd immunity is expected to be achieved for Vietnam's top tourists. Who are the top tourists of Vietnam? So we see that the herd immunity for Vietnam inbound is actually much sooner, same time as the G20. But we know that the Chinese will not be leaving China only after the Beijing Olympics. We know that President Xi Jinping has decided that Beijing Olympics will go full circle. And I think it's the right decision. But it's looking like the Chinese will be traveling Q3. So who are our markets? South Korean, Japanese, Southeast Asia, USA, Russia, China, EU, and I do believe USA. I do believe that the flights from Bamboo Airlines directly to San Francisco and Vietnam Airlines to Los Angeles, that will really open up a lot of FDI and I can't wait to work with Visa, MasterCard, all of this bank, Chase, to work with the membership points, all of the college students, all of these people that collected their miles and to get a free flight to Vietnam, So there's a lot of opportunities for that market. So this is a data that we were looking at. If we are looking at economy recovery, are we similar to Germany? Are we similar to UK? Are we similar to Mexico, USA, Canada? Or are we looking at China? With China, we were looking at the booking app, Yum. We are looking at how many bookings we're doing for offline reservation for the restaurants. And we are looking at the spike. And you could see that. You could see that here. This is when China started allowing for the bookings offline. That's amazing. And you could see also how Germany, United Kingdom did. They closed down and their economy is almost back up. We are looking at a model similar to Mexico. I think Vietnam is looking at a hard lockdown with a slow, medium growth, but boom. Once we're ready for Tet holiday, hopefully our domestic consumption will drive this recovery. So I think that's it, everyone. Thank you for listening to me. And I do believe we will go to question and answer now to Camelia. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Philip. That's actually a very insightful presentation. I'm sure that it would be great that you can share the presentation to us later, so I can share with the network, because I find so many meaningful information as well from the presentation, including the fact that I think we are all working so hard trying to get back to the new normal, and hopefully by the target, as we say, by June 2022, we can basically get to our normal life again. And a few things that I take away from Philip's presentation, including that the fact that yes, since air travel is safe, so try our best to support the domestic travel when and where we can. And also that COVID actually give us the opportunity to have our second or third or fifth career, like Philip become a food blogger, so maybe we can take away from that. All right, so just to change the environment a little bit, I know that Anli have given away her gift already, so Hannah, if you can email us later, send us the address, we can send you the gift. And we have our second gift of the day as well. And before we play the game, I also want to share with you some rule for you to know what we need to do. Okay, make sure you can share my screen. So it's time for our very quick mini game. I think you will need your phone with high-speed internet connected as well. And before we run into the mini game, I would like to introduce you to a friend of mine. If anybody can recognize him? I think it's a him, not a her. Anybody know?
Yes, I know this one since I was living in Singapore for a while.
Okay. Somebody that says Irvin's. Actually, he's a black dog, right? Yes, it's Irvin. And this mini game is brought towards by Irvin, Salted Egg, and IPP Travel Retail. And the winner of this game, you know what you're going to get if you actually watching me from the camera. I have a few bags of Irvin's with me. So if we cannot find the winner, probably I'm going to finish them all. Okay, and just a quick warning to everyone, because they say that this is dangerously addictive, so you have to be very careful. Maybe you should decide whether you want to eat it or not. In case you do not want, please let me know. I'm happy to keep it here for you. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do next is I would like you and make sure you can still see my screen, right? I would like you to use your phone or computer, whichever you feel comfortable with. Please type in to your browser joinmyquiz.com, and we also have the game code 7520826. We're gonna give this a few 1 or 2 minutes for everyone to join the game. Our experts are also welcome to join. Okay, so I see a few. So here is the first one. Okay, let me see what I have. So I have Alvin, potato. I think this is the original. And then
Camelia, I think you need to repeat again about the code and how to get in. It was already.
Okay. Guys, when you open your phone, right? Please open up your browser. If you are on iPhone, you need to log into Safari and then type in joinmyquiz.com. And then they're going to ask you to enter a game code. Only you see my screen, right?
I only see the screen with Irvin.
Oh, okay. I think. Sorry, I think that is the reason. Let me reshare. My apologies to everyone. I thought that I share everything that I need. Okay. So joinmyquiz.com. Let me type in as well. So we have joinmyquiz.com. And then the password is 7520826. Yes, now we have more. Thanks, Anvi. You saved my day. Yay, so I have 15. Tammy. Okay, I'm gonna give another extra minute before we start the game.
Can you go up to the code again?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Seconds. Okay, so we shall play it now. Just be the quiz is about aviation, and normally for this type of game, it's not rocket science for sure. But all you have to do is to be very quick and fast. Okay, so we will start it now. Okay, which is not an aircraft manufacturing company. Okay, you will have to speed up in your own speed. Oh. So we have Anli coming up on top. Again, Anli. So we have Kim Bao's actually going up on top right now. Wow, it's changing fast. So we only going up on top. The competition seems to be. Yay. Actually, the good part about this game is you have the chance to do your redemption questions so that you might regain some points. Yeah, so we have a few players that completed the game. Kim Bao is going up on top, and then we have Quyên, Anli is still changing. Okay, so almost everyone's ready. Okay, I'm gonna end the game in 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it's time to find the winner. Okay, the winner here today, congratulations to Kim Bao. You're going to receive a very beautiful and delicious box of oven snacks. And please do leave us your address and we're going to send this gift to you very soon. Okay, everyone, I hope you have some good time listening to the presentation and have a good time to refresh your mind to play the mini game as well. And in order to save time for the most important part of the day, I'm gonna invite you back to our panel discussion. What I did was actually during the time that you register for the event, we actually asked you if you have any questions for us. And my job was basically just to compile all the questions together, and I actually break them into different sections so that we can follow, starting from the skill and knowledge that we need for aviation, and then what are the trends or what are the plan after, during, and after COVID-19, as well as more onto the future and career opportunity for those who want to work and develop themselves into the industry. Okay, our speakers, are you all ready?
Yep.
Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna start with a question now. I thought this is one of those interesting questions that I have for both of you, Anli and Philip. I'm gonna ask Anli first then. Have you ever encountered any interesting scenarios on the airplanes, and how did they solve the issues?
Okay, at first when I see these questions, I was really thinking, but I think because the last time I actually fly on a long trip was a long time ago, like almost 2 years now. I don't really remember so much, but what I know is that normally when there is a scenario that happened on a flight, we actually solve it with collaboration. So there is no really like a single person who really have to make decisions, but it's normally coming as a team decisions, you know, like even for the pilot, they will be actually talking between them both to actually solve something. But, you know, and I also realized that what really stay on my mind are actually like really those special moments that in the flight. So I can really tell you, I mean, one of the cases that I remember was like when passenger need medical assistance. So there was really a collaboration between the cabin crew and the other passengers who are doctors actually on the flight. And what I also remember is that I normally travel on staff ticket. And I also remember myself being a translator, actually, if the flight actually needed Vietnamese language on that flight, or even making announcement actually on board if there is a Vietnamese announcement needed on that time. And I think one cool thing that I always remember about flying as a scenario is that you turn to a new age multiple times as you're flying across different time zones. And then if the cabin crew knew it, they will actually bring like birthday cake and chocolate to you. That's how we do in Lufthansa. So yeah.
Wow, I don't think I have ever had the chance to travel Lufthansa, but that should be on top of my wish list right now. What about
Make
you?
sure they know.
Yeah.
Make sure they know it's your birthday.
I think since I remember traveling, there's been a lot of instances where, of course, you know, you have turbulence where you feel like, oh no, it's so scary, but it's safe. But there was one time I remember that I was traveling to Hong Kong and the airplane dropped maybe 200 feet, really, and everything, all of the food, all of the thing fly up in the air, all of these items, and you know, but it was safe. But that's what I remember the most in terms of a scary. But the longest flight I've taken was to go to Brazil, Sao Paulo, Brazil. Long transit, 2 transits. I know. I went to Qatar, then to Qatar, first to Amsterdam, then Amsterdam we flew to Sao Paulo, and I think for me just staying inside the plane for maybe 18 hours, it's an experience by itself, and I love it. I love that you have your own time to yourself, and no matter what it is, every flight is an experience. So nothing crazy besides that whole flight from long time ago.
Thank you so much. Ali, there's a questions for you here. Can you tell us if there's a difference between hospitality in hotel industry versus hospitality in aviation? What do you think about it?
Well, I mean, and we have to come to first the definition of hospitality, right? So basically creating a very good experience for our guests as the host, right? So I do not find a difference because nowadays airlines or hotels are own company, and we actually have to be very much into customer centricity. So we do not really just look at like the stay or the fly, but we are looking at now like the whole customer journey. And for us in Lufthansa Group, we look really as a journey we call click, book, fly, and repeat, right? So we really have to make sure the whole stage of travel actually being very seamless and very convenient for customer. So that is my principle about hospitality in aviations, and I think I can be relate with the hotel industry. One thing that might actually come a bit different about aviation is that, I mean, your direct contact, I mean, as the service personnel is actually your cabin crew, and beside being your host of the flight, but they are also your security and safety specialists. So this is something that a lot of people do not actually think about, but I think this is a bit like slightly different comparing to the hotel industry. That's what I can say.
Thank you so much. I think this answer, like, yes, I'm sure like every time I ask a question, I learn something from the speaker. That is why we really need to have a room of different speakers with different experience and also knowledge as well to know more. All right, I wanted to ask Philip a questions because you have been sharing quite a lot about IPP travel retail, as well as many brands that you bring to Vietnam. And probably next time when I go shop, I probably have to check if this brand actually brought us to us by IPP Travel Retail. All right, but can you actually share with us one or two of your brand stories that you have with your own company, and how does it have to do with the customer experience?
Maybe I first moved to Vietnam 2009, and it was a whole new world for me. I came from studying in San Francisco for 5 years and working in Guam for 5 months in the hospitality industry in terms of duty free. And for me, I gotten to know every single brand within our group, from luxury all the way down to the mid-tier fashion company. The mid-tier fashion company was established by my older brother and myself at 2011. And the brand that I managed was Nike. I was the general director at 26 years old for Nike Vietnam. And I had a small marketing budget. I had to open maybe 30 stores, but I had no budget to engage the customer, you know. Before, Adidas was the #1 brand. They were dominant to the whole Vietnam, and everyone was doing Adidas. When I took over Nike as a brand, I had to say, okay, what is the #1 category that everyone could use that is easier to sell? Because the #1 category during 2009 was football. And not everyone play football. We watch football, yeah, but we don't buy the product for football. So we transitioned to running category, because everyone wear running shoe to office, going out, going to the gym. The running shoe is the most flexible shoe to use. And I had to understand, okay, I have different product categories. How am I able to engage the Vietnamese clientele? And I started, and we developed the new category. Then as I started opening stores, I needed to find a way to get more customers into the store. And so I left my company. I left Nike as the country director, and I opened my own company, which was Pulse Active. Pulse Active is a events company. I'm not sure if people have gotten to join Color Me Run or Ho Chi Minh Marathon or Da Nang Marathon or Challenge Vietnam, or have gone to some concerts that I have done. So I decided to do Pulse Active because I needed to find budget for Nike. I needed to say, okay, I have a brand that needs people to interact actively, sweating, running. So I chose Nestle Water. Nestle Water is the owner of La Vie Water. So I asked, hey, La Vie, do you want to join with me to grow the health platform in Vietnam? They go, yeah. So they said, Philip, you want to be our ambassador? I go, okay, but you have to sponsor my events. They go, okay. And so from there, it grew. And for me, that is a brand success that I was able to identify. To say, okay, how do I understand the clientele by the product? Because Nike has so many categories of product. And so I said, okay, running. And so now running and all of these fitness outfits, it's a standard to Vietnam. And now with run clubs and sports clubs, it's now organized. So for me, that's one. The other one I say is Irving's. Irving's, because when I traveled to Singapore for all of the business meetings for the brands, I would travel with my father, and he would say, hey, Philip, go get Irving's. Okay. And he was the fan of Irving. So I said, okay. And so as I took over the business last year for Airport, I said, I have to own the brand. I cannot buy the product from other people, because what is special? What is special about Haribo or our Dasani water or Coca-Cola products or all of these things that you could buy in Circle K or the supermarket? I think now, as I oversee the brand IPP Travel, we're now trying to bring brands directly to the travel retail sector. Travel retail sector versus domestic is two different markets. Domestic brands that you see in the shopping mall, that is a different management team. For travel retail, it's a different team. So I would say Irving's, because I didn't think that I would do snacks as a business, but wow, I learned a lot. So those are the two brands that I'm very proud for over my career.
Thank you so much, Philip. I think from your story, we also feel that there's definitely a combination of both, like corporate branding and also your own personal branding as well. No wonder they actually asked you to become the ambassador. So I think your personal influence also play a very important role, and we are very happy that Vietnam eventually come up to have some exclusive visibility of Irving's in Vietnam, and that is very important. That for every single Irving's product that we have is mostly directly sold by IPP Travel Retail, right? All right. Ali, what about you? Any brand story you want to share from Lufthansa, given your very more than a decade, right, of experience working for the group?
Yes, I mean, I've been here more than 13 years, and a lot of people was asking me, like, like how could you stay that long for one company? And normally I would say it's simply because I like what we are doing, and I mean, it must be love, right, to stay that long. So, brand story of Lufthansa, I mean, from my perspective, as somebody who have been working with the brand for a long time, I see it as three different circles. So coming from the core, which is why we are doing this, to how we are doing it, and eventually to what we are doing to achieve the why and how, right? So I do believe that if the brand actually know very well why you are doing this, you have a very good way to sell it, because you need to know why you're doing it and to inspire people to actually travel with you. And travel is about inspiration, right? So the why for Lufthansa is simply, we want to really connect people, nations, and economies in the most sustainable way. And how we are doing it? How we are doing it is simply that we are offering really a wide range of product that you simplify the right choice in coming from budget carrier to premium airlines, whatever you're actually looking for. And I mean, then what we are doing? Well, we are a commercial company, so we actually selling you travel experience. And I myself, as a salesperson, I am your consultant for whatever you need. So this is how actually the whole thing we are doing, coming from why first, and to be how, and to be what. And I do believe that the what is actually quite simple to say, because a lot of our company actually have product first and then telling customer what, I mean, why they need to buy it, right? But for us, we're coming from the why, and I do find that this is the strongest message that I have ever seen in the airline industry. And that's why also this is the reason why I'm staying for so long, because I know the why. Yeah.
Thank you, Anli. It's always important to start with why and figure out the why. And
Exactly.
once you love what you're doing, I don't think there's anything can take you away from Lufthansa for anytime soon. I think even
I won't
before.
say it, I won't make a statement, but simply, I enjoy being here. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So to both experts, I would like to ask if you can share with us some common sales marketing strategy that the aviation industry use to attract customers.
You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I'll make it relevant to 2021 and 2022. I know everyone talks about digital, Instagram, TikTok now, Facebook, but I do believe it still goes back to the brick and mortar. Marketing is relationships. It's connecting with industry leaders or industry workers who are the one that actually selling the packages. For me, there's so many white noise in terms of all of these promotions, and you will only be able to go viral if you have something really interesting or you have budget to promote in terms of print ad or online spend. And I think for us, sometimes it's challenging if you are leading that division to really get something sustainable. For me, really, what are you working on in terms of, first you ask, how am I reporting to my leadership or to my entity about the P&L? I am a marketing team. I'm a cost center. People look at me like, oh, when there's no sale, when there's no customers, marketing team's fault. Oh, they are not driving the customers in. And then when you say I have to bring the customers, I have no budget for you. And that's the reality right now. There's no budget for marketing. And a lot of this barter trade, you're trading what? For people to come to your location in exchange for a post on digital, that's very challenging. So I think for us, we need to be able to first identify, is my location, who is my target market? Is it the local now? Okay, do I have anything interesting that could offer? Is my price point competitive? If your offering is $100 and the offering is $50, you will not get anyone, guaranteed. I believe the biggest wins are buffet for breakfast. Really, if you are really gonna put some effort to something that is something, make the start of the day of your customers good. And for me, it's really trying to understand. Okay, everyone is giving everything for free now. Everything is you book one room night, you get credit for anything equal to the room night now. You book now, before for Vincom and the Fuwok packages prior to COVID outbreak recently, 2 million dong, 2.5 million dong for 3 days, 2 nights. free food, breakfast, lunch, dinner, ticket to Vin Safari, plus some gift. And for me, I wanted to say, okay, can I join? Can IPP Travel join that package? I will give them free gift in the airport. And it is not my execution. It's my joining their package. So I think for every marketer, my advice is you don't need to create your own marketing. You just need to find the right opportunity to be able to package together. Everything is a package. I hear a lot of cross promotions from coffee shops where people are sitting down. You say, hey, you know what? Can I be your Wi-Fi sponsor for this month since everyone's logging in? And I've been in Ho Chi Minh and your location is my same client. So don't try to find 100 clients. If your hotel has 10 rooms, 20 rooms, 30 rooms, concentrate on 30% of that first. Concentrate on small steps, so that you could advise as the marketing team to say, okay, here's our 6 months plan. Our 6 months plan require OPEX restart. Okay, Philip, do we need to have breakfast offering? Yes, but room service. No buffet so that we don't need to waste food. Okay, so that's being done right now. What other costs could you have there? You could say, okay, Philip, I have other local businesses that are struggling. They want to join my package, to join the bigger package. So if you could work with a local banh mi shop or a coffee shop that has something that they want to offer, everyone wants. Look, I did not realize. Sorry, I thought that the mini game. I was watching the mini game. I didn't join. About 28 people joined the mini game. That's amazing return for the Irving's execution that we just did here, and I did not have to spend my Irving's sponsorship, but I joined this forum. I say hello to everyone. I'm excited to join. And Camelia say, hey, Philip, there's an opportunity to do a mini game. Would we be able to do Irvings? Yeah, sure. I call my assistant, give Camelia the Irvings. And then I realized, wow, she executed in the game. And for sure, now everyone say, I lost Irvings. I want to buy Irvings, So try to consider how are you able to not spend cash, okay? And I'll say this, maybe we do another workshop, Camelia, specifically for travel industry marketing to say, okay, let's do a real case study. So everyone has a case study. I'm sure everyone has a similar case study. The case study is, Philip, I have $0 budget. My owner asked me, I'm the owner of my hotel, or I work with the owner to drive. Okay, Philip, are you a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star? From there, what city are you in? From there, let's check first and foremost, is there flights coming into my city? Or am I targeting the local? So guys, I think I could spend hours talking about marketing executions because that's what I'm doing. But let's pass to Anli, and I want to also learn on what Lufthansa is doing currently right now and to gain back the route, I would say, right? Is there people that want to fly from Vietnam to Germany and Germany back to Vietnam? And I hope that we could maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, luckily there are still people who actually would like to fly on such route, right? Even though flying nowadays is so difficult. Well, we can exchange later on this because I just want to stick to the questions, which is about sales and marketing strategy that aviation industry need to attract customer. And well, I'm not trying to be very specific than the Lufthansa, but I want to be more industry point of view. Is that for me, for sales and marketing to work fine, you have to be able to differentiate yourself with the competitors. That's all. The people have to remember your brand, and they have to remember your product and services. This is what I think that is so important. And for aviation, I mean, throughout so many years, and I also believe that, I mean, it's going to be the same actually after the crisis, is that in aviation industry, there's nothing called the medium size. You either have to be super big, like an aviation group, a global one, to have own kind of product and services that everyone needs, they will find it from you. Or you have to be very niche and you have to do very well what you are doing, like being niche here. And niche here, for example, is budget carrier. They have to be so good at keeping their costs low so that they attract the right people. So that's all I can say, being mass or being niche in the end.
I love that. Just to your point, that's why we concentrate on cargo, IPP air cargo.
Being very special, yeah.
So good point on that one. That's interesting.
Well, thank you so much because both experts have given me like a few things to think about as well. And obviously, for example, the Kyrgyz, what we did with Irvin over the mini game today, right? It's not only that this meeting is actually being recorded and people can watch it over and over again. And we know that it's even going to reach out to even more than just 28 people. And for Unli as well, I'm sure as well for budget airlines, that's why they come up with so many like promotion, like zero cost, like zero cost fly or whatsoever, right? So there's so many things to take into consideration when it comes into sales marketing strategy. All right, Anli, there's one, I think it's quite technical questions for you.
Yep.
There's one audience asked, what are the difference between a charter flight and a back-to-back flights in terms of operations?
All right, so let me just try to keep it very simple. In terms of operation wise, both kind of fly actually have no difference, because in aviation, we have to really make sure that safety is actually a common thing. So operation wise, there's no difference of doing the flight of charter or doing the flight of back-to-back, which is a commercial flight. What I see is the commercial difference, because when we actually sell a charter flight, the airline basically collect a lump sum amount of money from that client. And that client, I mean, how many seats they can fill, not our problem. But then if we're talking about a commercial flight, commercial airplane, then we have to make sure that the plane is full by our side. So this is just one different thing that I would see.
Thank you so much, Anli. Yes, I think that also give us basic understanding of the differences. Philip, there's one question for you. What do you think are the top skills that needed to work in aviation industries?
Aviation industries, again, to the Anli's presentation, aviation industry is wide consuming. Ground handling, duty-free retail. Number one, I'll say this to everyone, start with appearance also is in terms of health. I think aviation, you're standing up a lot, you know, you're in the aviation industry, you get backaches, and not just only aviation. I think for us, anyone that considers health as their priority will be a winner no matter what. I think that is an advice I want to give to anyone looking for skill set. I think if you concentrate on living a healthier lifestyle, you are able to gain so many skills that are really, it's hard now to really put, when I hire for a position, there's really no real job description until you meet the person and you engage the person, because everything is really a match, you know. Aviation skill set, you really have to choose what industry you're focusing on. If you're doing duty free, learn a second language or a third language. Everyone here speaks 2 languages. If you could speak 3 languages, wow, you immediately get a bump up of salary. If you are able to speak Chinese, Russian, Korean, Japanese, to any aviation or even hospitality, that's a bonus for you. And I say this to everyone, it's like, pick up those things that common things that the tourists are able to use in terms of day-to-day, and from there people shift careers, you know. People are not only in one track anymore, and I think that's where the whole philosophy of Salesforce is. Salesforce, if you guys research Salesforce, again, it's just learning. They place everything and lower to an organization structure. So if you are looking at diploma courses and saying, okay, I'm still a student, I'm looking to finalize my degree, I'm in marketing, I'm in administration, try to go more specifically to skill sets. A language skill set is good. Now, in terms of accounting, it's good also to be able to get that. But for aviation specifically, you'll really need to spend time on specific flight attendant, pilot, air controller, ground service. And those services sometimes don't take 4 years. There's programs that only take maybe 2 years. Maybe again, we could have another discussion about what is aviation, because it's so big. It's so big. So the only thing is just take care of yourself. If you are healthy and you're active, you will be ahead of everyone. I guarantee that one to you.
I cannot agree more, because at the end of the day, we need to be healthy and we need to live in order to do something else after. And just like what if Anli or Philip just say, the industry is actually huge. Even hotel industry or whatever industry you are in, you just need to picture yourself which part of the industry are you taking part. And then we slowly finalize what kind of skill that we actually need. If you really need to have communication, or you need language or whatsoever. So that is something coming up next. All right, I have a questions for Lee. I think this is something that you have shared during your presentation, but maybe you can want to add in some more details of what are the impacts of the aviation industry on the environment and the society.
All right, yeah, thank you for the question. It's actually a question that is difficult to wrap around in a short time, but anyway, I will try. So the reason why aviation actually came on the news a lot regarding global warming and so on is simply because of the CO2 emissions that the industry created. And if you look into like per year, how much CO2 that a human being, I mean, our mankind created on Earth, in 2019, I think it is around 43 billion tons, which is a lot. And for aviation, we actually contributed 2% out of that. So 43 billion, 2% is end up around 900 million something CO2 tons into the environment. That's huge, but it's 2% of the global thing. But then if you group aviation actually with other mode of transportation, then it accumulated around 12%. And we can work on that simply. Because if we do not work on that, it's global warming. And you know, as the future forward, more flight, the amount will not just stop at 2%, right? So that is the whole why we are doing this. Then there are three ways actually that you can make aviation more environmental friendly. And the most, like the highest factor that created CO2 in aviation is simply how the aircraft actually burn fuel. And to really make it more greener as flight travel, there's three ways. Either you avoid CO2, either you reduce CO2, or either you compensate CO2. And I will explain how to do that. So to avoid CO2, simply stop flying. And of course, I do not mean that, you know, people stop flying, but stop flying here means on certain routes that is too short. For example, before we used to have fly actually between Saigon and Cần Thơ, which I find make no sense at all, because you can go there with transportation, with public transportation. So this is something that in Europe that has been highly popular, and we call it intermodular public transportation system. So we actually cooperate with train company to send people from our hub to a places nearby with actually flying that. So by that, you actually reduce already CO2 emission into the environment. The second thing is that you need to reduce CO2, right? And how do you do that? You reduce CO2 by using newer aircraft. The airline have to invest into newer type of machine, because the newer the aircraft, you know, the less fuel consumption it is. And there are actually technologies now to even make aircraft flying with less fuel by simply less weight. So there's a lot of things in our company, for example, like the wine bottle is now making from glass, because glass is simply heavy. Yeah, so one of the initiatives. The second thing is that we actually study on shark, which is the fish yeah, in the ocean. Why sharks swim so fast? It's simply because the skin of the shark have a certain structure that reduce the forces around the ocean. And we apply it on our aircraft and make the aircraft actually fly more effortlessly and use less fuel. So those are the way how you can reduce CO2 into the environment, because it consumes less fuel. And last but not least, we talk about compensations of CO2. And this we need our customer to join in. And because simply in Europe, companies are now required by law to reduce their CO2 footprint. So we actually have sustainable aviation fuel, which is not the normal fuel, because normal fuel, you have to dig it in the ground. It's like fossil fuel, and the whole production actually make a lot of CO2. So sustainable aviation fuel is made from cooking oil, reused cooking oil or animal fat. And the amount is not that much yet, but we actually managed to be the second biggest aviation group in the whole world actually consuming those kind of fuel. And our customers are willing to pay more for the ticket price to get those kind of fuel on board for their flight. So those are the things that we are doing at the moment. And on a longer run, Lufthansa is actually growing forests everywhere in the world. And this is a longer way to actually suck in CO2 and keep it there, not to let it be in the environment. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much, Anli. I'm gonna focus also on the question here and also one questions in the comment box for Philip regarding your experience with the duty-free items. So the first question that I have from the registration time is, what can I purchase at duty-free shop and why should I purchase from duty-free? Are they only available in the international airports? And there's another question here as well, maybe you can combine, is I have a question to Mr. Philip. By the impact of COVID-19, how do you think about the spending habit of the passenger during the flight? And then how does it change as well when they purchase on duty-free retail at the airport? Yeah.
Good questions. Duty free again. Everyone who has traveled internationally have seen it. Maybe you might have not really trusted to shop in Tanzania or Noybai because you don't really see the big brand name, but it's all international brands, DFS or Lotte. Duty free again, the word duty free. No tax, no duties, and that means there are certain items that are you're allowed to buy duty free, but with certain allocation, let's say tobacco or liquor, and you see a lot of this face masks being bought in duty free from Incheon Airport, arriving back in Hanoi or in Ho Chi Minh, and those are items called duty free because it's you could buy certain things unlimited, but there are certain things that you could buy only limited, and that's why the tobacco and the liquor industry used to be the #1 duty free item during the 1990s, 1980s because you could see in all of the movies, right? Everyone smoking inside the airplane, high life with the alcohol. That was the 1970s, 80s, even 90s. That was the aviation industry. Then, technology changed everything. The accessibility of flight changed everything. And I think for us, when we look at duty free, you look at Lotte, you look like Shinsegae, you look at Dufree, you look at DFS. And when you look at Vietnam, you say, okay, why does IPP do the duty-free business here in Vietnam? And is it a IPP brand? IPP works with the international brands because all of these international companies, the #1 thing they have is all of the brands, To collect all of the brands under a duty-free platform, it takes time. It takes time. That's what I'm doing with the domestic market now. So step by step, I've only taken over the travel retail business in the past 1 year. And as we try to get the product into the customer's hand, of course, the Vietnamese local market, it's so easy to shop online now. With all of the motorbike, everything is so easy to pick up or to be delivered. So again, what makes attractive now is called, let's not even call it duty free, let's call it price point, retail price point. Sometimes a duty free item, you could find this cheaper in Vietnam. Maybe in the domestic market, maybe because it's coming from a different shop, a different source. And that's why, the iPhone 13, whenever it opened, you hear the news of everyone lining up to buy, and then they will send it to Vietnam, and people will buy $200 more to buy it because they want to be the first one to get it. So duty-free is only allowed within regulations from the government, either in airport, international airport, or in a downtown duty-free. But when you're in a downtown duty-free, you cannot pick up the product. You could only pick up the product in the airport. So there are certain items that you could buy duty-free downtown and enjoy downtown if it is made in the country. That's why in Korea, when you buy the Korean products, you could pick up directly. And so again, that's why Korea is known for beauty cosmetics now. Before, beauty and cosmetics was really not part of duty free, but then as men and women, as more women travel, it started to be more, okay, I need a compact blush, I need a compact lipstick. Everyone started to be compact, and I think that's where the whole trend starting to happen. And I think there will be major change in duty free moving forward because now with COVID, it's so hard to invest on a $5 million or $10 million downtown duty free with 200 staff and with so many products. Now everyone just wants to do online. Everyone wants to do online and warehouse because you don't need to hire. But for me, you have to do hybrid because you cannot forget the brick and mortar. You cannot forget the hotel. So our goal for Duty Free Vietnam is to move the duty free into the hotels now, because with COVID, it will be controlled. I think tourism will be controlled for the next 2 years, 3 years. So we have to be smart. So I think that's just to combine the two questions. The duty free again is a segment where you do not pay duties and taxes as a customer.
Thank you, Philip. I think that would be wonderful to soon to have some duty-free shop at hotels, because that's something that we will also very much look forward to, since the chances for us to travel is actually getting less. All right. Anli, there's one question for you regarding education, and maybe Philip can add in a bit later. The first questions here from the audience are, what are the courses and training options for students who want to enter the industry? And another question here, more specific, which possible MBA courses in cargo aviation industry for ones who are interested in?
Shall I go first?
Go ahead.
Yes, please.
All right. So when we come to talk about courses and training options, I would say it's really depending on when you get the job, because simply we have different requirement, different license requirement when you go into different positions in aviation. So I will just split into operations and commercial. So for operation, if you apply something for operation, you will need to get the license and you'll be trained for that. And for commercial, it's more on generic, like you need a business degree and you need to actually know certain things. I mean, how to work in the office and so on. But then also further training will be provided to you, depending on what kind of job you actually would like to apply for. Yeah.
Okay. I will share this one. 1 second. Can I share screen?
Sorry, let me stop sharing so you can share.
For those that are looking to learn and like, okay, I'm not fully committed yet, but I want to take certain programs, you could go through IATA or ACI, and there are certain certificate programs that might cost maybe $80 to $200 for maybe a whole day program, and you get a certificate. And there are other ones that you will require to have other degrees before you're allowed to take the program. So I would consider going through these two websites, IATA. I'm taking a program also right now, air cargo. I have no degree for air cargo, so I'm taking a modular diploma course, but it's only 9 modules for me to finish. ACI, I'm looking at certain programs also for travel industry. So it's actually interesting to go through all of this one. There's a lot of things that you could learn. So those are the 2 things I would recommend people to check out.
Wow, I think that's very insightful. So just like what our experts have been saying as well, it depends on what sector of aviation you want to get in. And I remember that in the beginning, Anli never thought that she would be working in aviation, right? She studied
Never crossed my mind.
Bachelor of Marketing. So it's very much of what skill that you have and to fit into the picture as well. And do bear in mind that for Australian Hospitality Alumni, we are partnered with so many Australian education institutions, either in Vietnam or in Australia. So within Vietnam as well, you can choose to go to, for example, the Pegasus that they have campus in Hanoi or Da Nang. The RMIT actually starting to have their aviation program as well. And then overseas, or just like what Philip have been introducing to you as well. So there's so many options that you can go through. All right. And there's so many questions. So there's an interesting one, but I'm going to save that for, yes, that should be something that we can discuss very soon. The next part that we have, thanks everyone for those who can stay with us until now, because we know that we're gonna go a bit over time. The questions that we have would be more onto the future and more onto COVID related. The first question is, when can we travel outside of Vietnam?
Today.
Yeah.
When can we? Yeah.
You can always go out, but to go back is another story, right? I have never said that, you know, we cannot fly, but we can fly. But for example, if you are Vietnamese, you normally will have to wait for a repatriation flight from the government, or you have to have a company that is actually would like to bring you in as an expert and you can get in again. So it's not that easy yet. But myself, I'm planning now vacation to see my friends abroad actually March and June next year. So I'm looking forward to actually to that time to be able to fly normally again.
So by next year's trip, okay. Any sharing from you, Philip? Maybe coming back at a food blogger, not so bad.
No, I'll say this. It's not about traveling and say I'm vaccinated. It's more of, man, if you test positive when you go abroad, you're stuck there for maybe 1 or 2 months. Just the realistic situation. And that was always my concern when I traveled to New York with my father. It's like, okay, we're vaccinated, we won't get sick, we have insurance, but okay, where will I stay in New York if I test positive, even a false positive? Even a false positive for my test, and I go to and do I submit this to the airport, or do I wait until it becomes negative? There's a lot of things, and I'll say this to everyone. I know there's an appetite to travel abroad to see family or to see holiday, but I think for us again, we just wait for safety first. I suggest if you have ways to get back in, but it's not that easy right now to answer this one. So I hope again maybe we need some data first. We need some inbound data more and more, because it's hard to really make a decision when your data is so limited in terms of, do we allow someone out of 7 days, and are they allowed to go karaoke? Are they allowed to go? What type of infrastructure will be these people are allowed to? So still, and I think that's where we need to push the discussions to the local level. It's very important that Danang, Kamran, Fuwok, all of these localities, and that's what I'm trying to do. So travel local first. I think for those in Saigon, let's go to Hanoi. Let's enjoy the cold weather there. But yes, just be safe, everyone. Make sure you have insurance when you travel.
Sure, just be safe, everyone. All right. The next question that we have is what are the recovery plan for aviation industry after COVID-19? And I have a specific question regarding cargo from Do, maybe Bùi Đỗ Quyên. She said that her job is currently mainly focusing on the training of the transport and of dangerous goods, which is one of Kayo's special cargo. And she's very interested in knowing about the future of air cargo transport, especially after the decision of the IPP Travel Group to establish the very first cargo carrier in Vietnam. So she actually wants to address this question to both of our experts on this matter.
I was just looking at the email from IATA, and so it's a training for dangerous goods.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So I was just talking to the head of Oxford study here. He's having problems with taking on the samples from Oxford, from UK, for testing for COVID and all of these things. So I think for us, a lot of facilities needs to be set up within Vietnam to be able to transition to specialized handling. I think specialized handling, right now, we do not have much freighters. We do not have cargo logistics freighters. We have refabricated aircrafts that were meant for passenger. And I think as we embark to IPP Air Cargo, where just today, my father just sent me a message about the Boeing. So we will take delivery of the first aircraft by Q2 2022, which is a bit crazy for me because I thought it will be Q3. So that's 1 year advance of marketing requirements that I have to do. So I do believe that there is discussions right now to start facilitating dangerous goods and express air cargo facilities in Cam Ranh and in Da Nang first. I think right now the situation in Tan Son Nhat is, are they going to build Terminal 3 in Tan Son Nhat? And when is Long Tan going to be finished for the cargo facility? So based on the Prime Minister's and Ministry of Transportation decision, they're pushing for cargo facilities to finish first before the passenger terminal. So they're now positioning the logistics hub in terms of, I believe there's going to be 9 warehousing facilities in Long Tan. And now we're at the stage where the land is the biggest question right now for the zoning, to transition all of the land zoning. So to the question from the team, customs, it's been an interesting 2 years working with customs department. I'm so happy I still have hair. Um,
I can relate on this.
but it's
I can relate on what you say.
getting there. So I think for Doc Boy, it's great to actually see someone in dangerous goods handling. It's not a specialty because there's really not much programs here in Vietnam. So that's actually a good degree to get dangerous goods because a lot of the heavy industries are starting to come into Vietnam in terms of, remember this, Vietnam's goal by 2030 is to grow from 1,500 kilometers of road to 10,000 kilometers of highway road. And from that means a lot of, look at what happened to the Sentosa, the what do you call that? The Taiwan plastic manufacturing that had a problem. Those are now considered zoning, all of these things. So I hope that we need more specialists. So from my end, more specialists to handle means faster timelines to clear goods. Exciting times, very exciting times.
Thank you, Philip. Any sharing from Ali? I think we also have Fansa Cargo in Vietnam, right?
Yes, we do have a freighter operation here directly from Frankfurt to Saigon. And I would say, you know, if you're in logistics, yeah, I mean, you're at the right place at the right time, to be honest, because last year when passenger business was doing so badly, the one that really keeping the company afloat was actually our logistics sector. And yeah, DGR training, yes, dangerous good regulations and so on. I mean, those are the things that I really think that is specialized. And for us, yeah, to get those license to work for Lufthansa, I mean, yes, you really have to pass with the fly high scope. But anyway, you get training when you work with us. So there is no need to actually go before that to do anything. So the company actually pay for that. Anyway, and just speak quickly about recovery plan after COVID-19. Difficult to say when COVID-19 will be really cold after, because I do not believe that it's going to end actually next year. So I think the plan of the whole industry is to be flexible, start ramp up wherever it's possible, wherever regulation actually came down, allow traveling again. And this is something that I just really can say from the whole industry, being flexible, going for destination that have low restrictions and have a high economic perspective. That's all I can say.
Well, thank you so much. I think based on the discussion that we have and also from the presentation, we have covered most of the questions being asked. I have two last questions of the day in case nobody have any further question. But if you do, please feel free to type it into the comment box. One question directly to Philip, because one I think participant from the hotel sector wanted to ask about the event Roots Asia 2022. By what it means for Da Nang or Vietnam to be the host of that event and what Da Nang needs to do to prepare for this event.
Okay. Sorry, I'll share a slide again to make our discussion
That's okay.
quite quicker. Okay, you know, I love, what is it really to do events? Can we make money doing events? Not so much. I'll say that. I love events, and from running events, I decided that I have to concentrate more on community events that will benefit the whole. And Routes Asia is something that we know that, okay, Da Nang geography, Vietnam's geography, and we know that Central Coast has been the big destination. We know that in 2019, we know that Da Nang's growth was really growing, and that's why I believe anyone looking for new opportunities, Da Nang will be that one. We know that the investments are there. It's currently there. It's just that COVID stalled that, but the money is there already. That's why you could see already the FDI is already in Da Nang. We know that a lot of multinationals already are in Da Nang in terms of progressive. And I'll say this, I love working with Da Nang government. It's very easy. They are proactive with their executions. This is, again, we're looking at the total industry for Da Nang on why we chose Da Nang as the Routes Asia. We were looking at retail, hospitality, tourism, and other services. And again, you can see the hospitality, tourism, it will pick up again because Da Nang is just too beautiful. The Central Coast is too beautiful. Again, we were looking at domestic versus international. And currently, again, domestic is one of the most go-to after for the Vietnamese North and South customers. And we should continue that. We should always continue the Vietnamese, but should not only stay in the riverside. We have to push the Vietnamese to the beach side also. It cannot just stay in the riverside. Again, this is what I'm scared of. 376 travel agencies don't have customers. You know, that's a lot of jobs that don't have jobs. 934 facilities, 40,000 rooms. 40,000 rooms is no joke. 85 tourism projects, 465. You know what? I didn't even include the data of how many tour buses, how many cars, how many, all of these things, you know. We have to consider this. And that's why we will concentrate on Da Nang, because I do believe we restart Da Nang, we restart the whole Central Coast. Da Nang is the gateway to Central Coast. And that's why we chose Routes Asia. So again, Da Nang again as a focal tourism destination for Central Coast. All of this one, it doesn't matter anymore. We need to look forward to the new branding of Da Nang. And I'm happy to work with everyone here to see, okay, Da Nang was hosted in Brisbane. I attended Brisbane. I was in Cebu. And that's why I've been pushing for Routes Asia to be hosted in Da Nang or in Cam Ranh or in Phu Quoc. We will do it for Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi, but I do believe they have enough support at this time. So we believe Da Nang Routes 2022 is the focal point. So again, we know that Da Nang is a livable city. And so Green City, international events, it's quite easy to do different marathons and different events there. We have Hoi An. That's the key. And that's what I've been telling Can Hoa and Cam Ranh and Nha Trang to say. You have to adopt Dalat. You have to adopt Dalat as your own execution, because you cannot just stick to the beach side. You have to have that highlands side. And Da Nang has that in terms of Hue and even to Bana Hills, you know. But for us, for Da Nang, we have Hoi An, which I believe is really one of the biggest assets Da Nang has. We also have Bana Hills, Mike Beach, Songcha. Here's the thing. When you go to Nha Trang, really, there's really not so much local specialties, really. They say seafood, they say all of these other things, but when you go to Da Nang, you know, there's really, really good food over there. And there's also a lot of Michelin star chefs there, from a lot of Korean chefs that work for Lotte Hotel in Ho Chi Minh or 5-star hotels. They decide to open restaurant in Da Nang. So we have to consider that again, how we do the planning on how we do targeted segmentations. Here's a breakdown of how we do the study for Da Nang. How many 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, 2-star apartment hostel? Because it's a community. We cannot just look at Hilton. We cannot just look at the 5-star. No, all of these Instagram hotspots might be an alley. It might be something. So that's why we are choosing routes, because Da Nang is capable of hosting routes. We know that Da Nang Airport, we work with AHT, Taseco, and they're progressive. And we believe that the capabilities of the airport will be able to grow. This is the exciting data. We used to see so many connecting major cities in Vietnam. 11, 2019, 2020, 13. And major cities connected to Asian countries, 37 and 42. So we know that Da Nang is a hub already. We know that the cargoes, you look at cargo exploitation capacity from 41,000 to 16,000 because there was no more cargo flights. There was no more passenger flights. So cargo space was not available. So imagine there's still cargo for 41,000 and we dropped down to 16,000. That proves to you that cargo has dedicated IPP air cargo capabilities. For us, when we look at this, we look at the whole, okay, if we are looking at route connectivity, daily flights, how do we do that again for 2022, 2023, 2024? Here is how we're looking at now for new countries. Indonesia, close to 300 million, you know, but we do not have much Muslim-centric prayer room. We do not have halal restaurant. So we need to be able, if we are attracting Muslim and Middle East, and that we need those infrastructure. So that's why I think a halal restaurant is actually a good investment. I do believe halal is always a good investment. If you could supply the hotels, they will order from you. I guarantee that. So if anyone owns a restaurant in this call, halal menu is a good option. Taiwan, we know Taiwan has EVA Air and a lot of connectivity. So Taiwan is a good focus for us. Qatar, just Qatar as a connectivity. We want connection. Cambodia, that's a bet. We believe that Cambodia should be a connectivity for Da Nang, just in terms of getting that whole ancient city together with the coastal city, and we could start doing a connectivity. Again, look at how we were growing. 149% for Korea. We enjoy the Korean spend because as a duty-free operator, on average, a Korean was only spending $70 for duty-free because they were using their membership already to buy from Korea into Vietnam. So they don't want to buy duty-free. So they were spending about $70. For the Chinese, they were spending about $180 per Chinese spend. So they would buy all of this beauty, tobacco, etc.